Angel fans, Ohtani faced the Halos for the first time yesterday in a game, and, well, it was kind of weird, right? Seeing him in Dodger blue and not in Angel red. We'll talk about that. We're going to recap the game. Plus, Trout hears all the chatter about him, and he does have a response. And do the Halos even care about the prospect rankings? Let's find out together. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use our promo code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB, for a first deposit match of up to $100.
Hey, thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every single day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, we've been fans of the Halos for years, and we're heading into our third season as the host of Locked On Angels, where we're talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday, every single day. And you know who joins us and is an everydayer every single day? Shout out to everydayer Todd Chisholm, who listens to us on his UPS route every single day. Mike, he had a special delivery to Angel Stadium the other day. He said he had a really cool story where he got to deliver some stuff there. So that's nice. Really exciting for him. Hey, on today's show, Trout hears all the chatter, Michael, about him not wanting to win, wanting to be comfortable. He's got a response to that. And do the Halos even care about their prospect rankings, or are they focused on something completely different? First, Mike, let's recap yesterday's game against the Dodgers. Ohtani's first game against the Angels in a different uniform, and the Angels won 4-0, Mike.
Yeah, this game, the Angels were missing Anthony Rendon. Get all your jokes out now. He had some groin discomfort. Right. And Mickey Moniak wasn't in the lineup as well. And then the Dodgers didn't have Will Smith or James Outman in the lineup. They did have Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman at the top. And that's a tough top three, but not for Angel pitching, right, Johnny? The first meeting between the Angels and Shohei on the opposite side. Shohei goes 0 for 3 with 2 Ks and a fly out to Mike Trout. There was a little wave when Trout got that ball.
Classic Ohtani, right? Like he hasn't changed.
It was great. Silseth struck him out swinging on a fastball. And then Tyler Thomas comes in, a lefty, gets a swing and a miss on Shohei in his second at bat. And then Zuniga, did I say it right? Zuniga,
yes. All right. Well, Tyler Thomas got Shohei down low. Shohei didn't agree with the call. It was a strike 3 looking.
It was a strike.
It was a strike, Mike.
It was totally a strike. Johnny, how did it feel to have Shohei on the other side this time?
Man, to me, I know it's spring training, and so there's a lot to be said, or very little to be said about that, the results. But it just felt like a moral victory, because I think with the way things have been going for the Dodgers with their super team, and again, they didn't have Will Smith and James Outman, but they had that solid top three of the lineup of Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman. That's tough, Mike. And you saw that with Chase Silseth, the pitch count getting up there. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But to me, it felt like a moral victory, not just because of Ohtani, but the fact that we lost Ohtani to the Dodgers because of Artie Moreno and whatnot. And I think the expectation is just the Angels are going to get killed out there. And so to me, it felt like a moral victory. It also felt like the rivalry is a little more real to me now. It wasn't a big deal to me before because we're not in the same division. We have to focus on Texas and the Astros and the Mariners. Dodgers have to focus on the Giants and now the D-backs. So it never really felt like a real rivalry other than just location. And it's fun. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It's a fun rivalry, but I never really took it seriously as a fan just because we're not in the same division. These games matter in terms of wins and losses, but not against each other.
Yeah.
Having said that, now that they have our guy that we watched for 6 years and came up with us and, became the unicorn right in front of our eyes, again, felt like a moral victory to me. What about you when you were watching the game?
John, that top 3 for the Dodgers, I'm glad that they're not in our division because those 3 are going to be so tough and pitchers are going to be worn out going 1, 2, 3 with those guys. The thing that I noticed, John, wasn't necessarily about Ohtani, but was about our pitching. They continue to be pretty great this spring, and they continue to battle, and they continue to buy into what Wash and Enright are teaching them. And so I hope that they can carry this momentum into the regular season because so far they look fantastic. And it's not just that they're winning in spring training like they did the last 2 years. They're actually winning because their starters, their leaders, their MLB ready guys are playing really well. Their pitchers are pitching really well. They look really good. And so that makes me really excited, especially against a team like the Dodgers who can wear you out. It's going to be World Series time for everybody that plays the Dodgers because of who they are and who they have on the team.
Ohtani's been in like 3 games prior to this, and he had like a 2,000 OPS. So for him to go over in this one was like, hey, small victory for Angels pitching right there. How about that? Like we asked our everydayers on Twitter how they felt seeing Shohei on the other side. Jimmy TH said, it was sad to see him in another uniform. I was glad to see Angel fans still cheer for him. The team just played against him like he was another opponent. They were professional. Mr. Watts said it was bittersweet, but that's the nature of the sport. I'm surprised we even shut out the Dodgers, let alone Ohtani. Lauren Chavez, he said, still feels weird, but as long as we keep beating them, it should make things a whole lot easier. I agree with that. Billy G. Tuck said, didn't feel too good. I was happy Silseth got the K, but it was tough seeing Shohei in blue. Manny Man 2112 said, honestly, it wasn't weird to me. These past couple months, just knowing he's on the Dodgers is when it really felt weird. Tonight was a good game. Felt happy inside seeing him smile with all his Angel friends. Duop said, I was more focused on Silseth. He looked good. So he's in your camp, Mike. And then finally, Drew Campini said, I got the warm and fuzzies when I saw him and Trout hugging before the game. Once he stepped into the box, I couldn't wait for Silseth to K him. Hope he's successful against everyone but us. So those are some thoughts from our everydayers.
Johnny Jerry Seinfeld has a bit where he talks about sports, specifically baseball, and how we root for clothing. We don't actually root for the players.
Yes, I love that bit.
And I lived that last night watching this game. I was like, I don't like Shohei. I hope they strike him out, right? Because I'm rooting for clothing. I'm that guy that Jerry was talking about. I'm ridiculous, right?
Exactly.
Chase Silseth, John, he did look good. I know he threw a lot of pitches, but went 2 1/3, 3 hits, 2 Ks, no earned runs. His pitch count was really because you've got 3 future Hall of Famers at the top of this lineup in Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman. And he did struggle a bit with his location, but he powered through. And it's good to know, Johnny, by the way, that you and I aren't the only ones who think that Silseth is a lot like John Lackey, right?
Yeah, I could see that definitely. And the more he gets that fastball going, Mike, and locates that better, he's a bulldog out there. He's got that mentality. Mike Tyler Thomas relieved Silseth in the third. He got 2 strikeouts, including the one to Ohtani. Thomas went from who to him.
That's baby. So good. And then Ben Joyce came in, had a clean 1-2-3 inning. That was good to see. Best we've seen him so far this spring. And was like, what, 5 or 6 pitches, John?
Yeah, it was around that. Yeah, it was insane.
Blew through them. And then Zuniga came in, and I'm working on that. 1 inning, 1 K, and still it's throwing well. He did throw a lot of pitches, but he looked pretty good. But John, I think Victor Medeiros was the MVP of this game because
100%.
He came in and looked great. 3 innings, just 2 walks, 5 Ks. Maybe he's in the rotation in 2025. Do you think that he needs to cook, marinate, sizzle? Those are our favorite words.
Yeah.
Give him a full season in the minors and let him work out the kinks, right? And let him develop into who he possibly can be. Did get a little wild, hit a couple of batters. That was okay. It's the Dodgers, right? But did keep his composure. So we're okay. We're okay with that.
Mike, let's talk a little bit about the hitting. Mike Trout went 1 for 2 with a walk and a stolen base.
A what?
Baby. A stolen base, baby.
A what?
A stolen base. Had to do the same inflection each time.
Yes,
MLB posted a great slow-mo of him running from first to second. It said stolen base Mike Trout ASMR because it was like all the sounds of him running down there. Zach Neto had himself a game. 1 for 2 with a run scored. He was moving on the bases. He had 2 stolen bases on this one. On the move to second, he gets to third on a pass ball. and then made an Air Jordan. I think we need to call it Air Neto from now on. Grab at short, took one right out of the air to end the inning. It was great to see.
Yeah, Nolan Shaunell had a 2-run triple into the gap in left center. John, it's a shame that they brought this guy up, and it really has ruined his development. Isn't that just
what a shame?
And then Miguel Sano had an RBI single, scoring Drury from second.
He's looking a lot better.
I loved that he scored from second. I love EY
Yes.
Senior at third base, man. He is just going for it. And I'm okay if they get thrown out, because this is a team that is going to take that extra base. In fact, I think Gooby said on the broadcast yesterday that the Angels ranked 30th in taking the extra base last year.
Yeah, it's not great.
No, they just went base to base. And so now you can see the impact of just a little bit more hustle, a little bit more strategy, and a little bit more, let's go get that win.
And it's gonna be risky, Mike.
Yeah.
Like Neto getting to third base was a risk, but
Right.
he certainly it paid off because he got in there head first. It was a great slide. So I don't think that there's too much wrong with that in terms of trying to get that extra base, especially in spring training. Like, get those reps in out there.
Yeah, Joe Adell had an RBI double and a K. And a couple of final thoughts on this, Johnny. I love what you wrote here, so I'm going to let you read it.
Okay, I said it's funny how the dialogue all day yesterday was from baseball media was Ohtani's going to face his former team and da-da-da-da-da. And yet nobody online seems to be talking about the results. MLB Network, Fox Sports, nobody really seems to have the 0 for 3 result there. And you can bet, Mike, that had Ohtani hit a home run or even a single, it would have been all over the news. And you know what? That's fine. I think you might agree with me on this. We don't want anyone to pay attention to us.
No.
Don't pay attention to the Angels. We like it that way. We don't need the Jeff Passan curse. We don't need people saying, oh, look at the Angels. Look at what they're doing in Anaheim. You know what? Fine. If you don't want to post what actually happened, that's all right with me, right?
Sure. Yep, I'm okay with it too. I don't want anybody eyes on us, because it seems like whenever the eyes are on us, things completely fall apart. So if they're going to put eyes on anybody, put eyes on Ron Washington, and let's hype him up, because he is, so far, I've been super impressed at what kind of a manager he is.
And that's not a dig at Ohtani. It's just the way that media goes about their business, right? I mean, if it had been a different result, it would have been all over our faces and in our feeds and whatnot.
I didn't text any Dodger fans.
Neither did I. Because we're good people, Michael.
Yes.
We're good people.
Yes, we are good people. I'm good enough and I'm smart enough, and doggone it, I'm an Angel fan.
You know what? You know you're good people when you have to say, we're good people.
Yes, right.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day, just like our friend Tim. Hey, the Angels are playing the Cubs today, 12:05 Pacific time. That'll be a fun game to watch. Now, they do have a split squad game against the A's at 12:10, but the broadcast will be that main game, and I believe Patrick Sandoval is going to get to start the one on TV. I think Reed Detmers is in the split squad game. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, Mike Trout hears the noise. He knows what people are saying. Does he have a response? Yes, he does. And we're going to talk about what he said in just a minute.
Every dayers, it's time for you to check out Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America, and they are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And it's just you against the numbers. That's why it's so much fun, because you're not battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You're picking more than or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in.
I can do that.
I know. So can I.
I just got to pick more or less. I've played Price is Right for years. I can do that.
You and Mom watching the Price is Right. Hey, whether it's tournament season or the battle for home court in the NBA playoffs, there's no shortage of high-stake basketball moments this time of year. So get in on all of the excitement with Prize Picks. Again, they are America's #1 fantasy sports app. You can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. You can also win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. John, it gets even easier. How about that? Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks. I can submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. The gameplay is really easy, and there's an enormous selection of players and stat types. So let me give you a few examples. You could select Steph Curry to pick or to score more than 29 points, or you could pick Nikolai. I always mess this guy's name up. Nikolai, is it Nikolai? Joke, the guy from Denver. You can pick that maybe less than 15 rebounds, or you can go with maybe female basketball, which actually is getting better ratings than male sports, by the way. Caitlin Clark, you can say, hey, she's going to score more than 30 points. Or if you want to stick with the NBA, you can say LeBron is going to get less than 10 assists. Either way, you could win, and there's quick withdrawals like Apple Pay access for quick and easy deposits into your account. So here's what you should do. Download the app right now. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, download the Prize Pick app right now. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Locked On Everydayers, don't forget to head on over to Locked On Sports today to get 24/7 national sports coverage all day long. It's the world's first 24/7 national sports streaming channel. You can head on over there on YouTube, hit subscribe, get all the insight from the local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows as well. So again, YouTube, Locked On Sports Today, head on over there and hit subscribe.
Johnny, Ken Rosenthal chatted with Mike Trout recently. It was an article in The Athletic. You should check it out, filled with some really good insight into what Trout is thinking and feeling. Rosenthal said that Trout hears all the chatter. He hears all the noise, all the comments like Trout's content to be with the Angels. He doesn't want to win. He won't demand a trade. Rosenthal writes that it doesn't bother Trout. In fact, it's had the opposite impact. He said that Trout told him, it fuels me more. It fires me up. Trout, on speaking with Rosenthal about staying with the Halos, he said there's going to be an overall satisfaction when we win here. It will be greater than if I went anywhere else. So when I hear Trout needs to be traded or he's happy to be there, they can say whatever they want. I've got one thing on my mind, and that's trying to win here. And I love
boy, Trouty. I love that. At the end of the last season, Rosenthal wrote an article titled "Trout Should Confront Marino with the Hard Questions," and he suggested that Trout ask the following: what's your plan? How are you going to fix this? Trout has admitted to voicing his opinion internally about the need for Angels to sign free agents, and so far, it seems like Marino isn't listening. What else is new? So how much will this affect Trout's desire to say? And Trout had to say, I wouldn't say. I'm not trying to predict my future. I come in with the same mindset every year. I've got to stay on the field. I think being on the field, I can make a difference for the club. And the last few years, I just couldn't do that. And then the question was asked, what would make Trout want to move on? He said, we got to win. And that's the big part. I want to win. I've said it in an interview a couple of weeks ago at the beginning of spring training, which we covered here on Locked On Angels. When the trade talks come up, I could go that route, but obviously a decision I would have to think about, and I haven't thought about any of that yet. I think the desire to win for this team is bigger than that, and I love what Rosenthal says. It's easy to laugh this off and say the Halos won't win, but Trout's plan is to do all he can personally, even try and win another MVP along the way. He's convinced that it will happen. Trout told Rosenthal, I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. So am I, Mike. So am I, Mike Trout.
Yeah. So here's the question, Johnny. There are two crowds. There's the Angels can prove the doubters wrong with a young, hungry core of players similar to 2002. And then you can't win with Artie in charge. And we thank you to all those that tweet us and post that on our shows every single day as if we haven't talked about it, right? So how does each perspective hit you, John? Like, how close does each perspective get to being correct, being right?
I think it's about 50-50 because these Angels, even though they haven't had success over the last couple of years, this is the first time they're in a position where they have a good young core of players who are hungry. And I think all the narratives around them, Mike, just fire them up. We've seen that from Logan O'Hoppe. We've seen that from Reed Detmers, Patrick Sandoval, even Mike Trout. I think it just fires everybody up to get out there and do better. Zach Neto wants to change the narrative. And this is the first time that we're seeing productive young players. And it all has to do with the fact that Perry Minasian has worked his way around the Artie Moreno restraints, if you will, because yes, they aren't going to go out there and get the free agents that they absolutely need. And look, you and I were happy with the 2022-23 offseason because they got a bunch of depth. And the way they acquired it was through trades. It was through, 1-year deals and things like that. And it worked out pretty well until everybody got hurt, because then they burned through all that depth.
Yeah.
But the problem was it wasn't anybody really major. And the fact that we had to hear from Artie Moreno that he really wanted Trey Turner and Perry Minasian and said, well, we got to spread that money around. It can't be both. And I think that's what gets me to the other side of, as long as Artie's in charge, these guys can't win. It puts a significant anchor on this team with Artie Moreno in charge, because, and our Locked On Everydayers on YouTube in the comments say it every day, you add a Snell or a Montgomery, you add a middle of the order bat, suddenly you're kind of cooking with gas. Suddenly you're kind of in the wild card conversation. So to me, I think it makes so much sense. And I've said this all off season, roll the dice in the short term, go get yourself a Montgomery. Yeah, you might not get to the playoffs this year, but you certainly could benefit from having a Snell or a Montgomery for the next couple of years, and then build around that. And I somebody mentioned it today. If the Angels really want to get a free agent starter, they should wait till next year. Why not both?
Yeah.
Why not both? Why not add Montgomery now and make a play for Corbin Burns next season? And I say that as that's what I would do as a GM and an owner. But I say all of that with a caveat of, well, Artie's not going to go for that. No can do, pulling a Hall & Oates on us right there. And it's frustrating. So to me, it's the conversation is about 50-50. What do you say?
Yeah, I want to address that because you and I both have had the experience of working in an organization with not a great leader. And so there's the Mike Trout's going to change it from the inside out, right? And then there's the, well, with a bad leader, things can't change.
Mm-hmm.
And my answer to that is, I think things can change and you can change it from the inside out, but it's moment to moment change. It's not year over year over year change. So like moment change is Angels could potentially win this year, but then struggle for the next few years. And change is carried by one particular person, and that would be Mike Trout. Obviously others would participate in that, but Trout's kind of the straw that stirs the drink for the Halos. Now, when you look at like changing leadership, then that changes the vision. And that's when year to year change can happen. It's not just a moment to moment change, because the vision's different. The mission's different. The strategy's different. The philosophy's different. And here's why it's different, because it's carried by everyone, not just one person. And it's carried by maybe the most important or loudest voice in the organization. And that's Artie. So I think both are true. I do think that Mike Trout can change this organization from the inside out. But I also think that it's difficult to have change that will last a lifetime with Artie Moreno in charge. And so that's why I love what Mike has to say, because I think Mike sees his ability to influence these young players. Wash talked about how he was kind of hustling too much and everybody was following him. And he's like, Mike, you need to tone it down just a bit, right? I love that. However, there is going to be a lid with Artie Moreno. So if they can figure out how to win maybe this year and then carry that in the next few seasons because they have good young players, good on them. And Perry Minasian should be extended because he's been brilliant in getting these players in the organization and for cheap and drafting well, right? I just don't think with Artie being there, I don't think that we're going to see like what the Braves are doing or what the Dodgers are doing, where they have consecutive, Western Division titles, or they have consecutive playoff appearances, because I think Artie's always going to be the lid for that.
Yeah, absolutely. In my opinion, Mike, at the end of the day, this game comes down to what happens between the foul lines, right? It comes down to what happens in the dugout and on the mound and at the plate. And these guys are capable. And I think the problem in the past is they haven't had the right guidance. Also, these guys are just now showing up. I mean, Nolan Shaunell cut 29 games and had an on-base streak at the end of last season. Zach Neto came up around April, and that wasn't really the plan going into the season. Right. Logan O'Hoppy's out for most of the year with a shoulder thing. I think if these guys are as hungry as they say they are, they could surprise a lot of us. And again, the problem is that ownership doesn't set this team up for success. And in my opinion, the Angels do a lot of winning despite themselves, despite the front office, despite Artie Moreno and company. And I think that's the real shame here. But it doesn't stop me from being excited about what the season is going to look like with these young Halos.
Everydayers, I want to tell you about eBay Motors. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and even level it up to peak performance. And they're one of the sponsors here on Locked On Angels. From superchargers to roof racks to exhaust kits to LED headlights and so much more. Whether you're into speed or power or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your auto, you'll have exactly what you need and exactly what you're looking for the first time. And with the eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're not burning cash, you're burning rubber. And I love that. So get all the parts that you need at the prices that you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home a big win for your family. Keep the car, the truck, or the SUV alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. The eBay Guarantee Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
Mike, the Angels don't care about your rankings. Recently, Baseball America, Baseball Prospectus, they revealed their annual top 100 prospect lists. Only one player from the Angels organization, Nolan Shaunell, made the list, number 89 on Baseball Prospectus and 86 on Baseball America's list. A guy who put together a 402 on-base percentage in 29 games after being in college 3 months earlier. Just a small thing.
No big deal.
No big deal. But here's the case here. Baseball America's Kyle Glazer explained that ranking Shaunell was a question of where, not if. He said it's incredibly impressive what he did, especially as a mid-major college guy. If he stunk it up, nobody would have blamed him. You would have said he's not ready. But talk about adjusting to major league pitching. That's tough enough at AAA or AA. He pretty much did that straight out of a mid-major college.
Yeah, and Baseball Prospectus actually added some context to that. They said the inherent issue with Shaunell and his ranking actually circles back to his evaluation. He truly doesn't fit into anything resembling a familiar prospect box. He's tall, sturdy first baseman who looks like he should hit for some power, but he swings the bat like Luis Ariz a lot of the time, who played for the Marlins, right? He said he's going to walk, he's going to make a lot of contact. His major league contact rates weren't stellar, but his major league contact rates weren't stellar, but his minor league ones were. And he said, I'm willing to give him some grace in the short term, jumping from Florida Atlantic to the bigs in just a few months.
But for the Angels, their director of player development, Joey Probinski, he said that he doesn't really care where the Halos prospect ranks.
Right.
He actually said the organizational mandate has been to identify who can make a major league impact fastest in the draft, then help them get to Anaheim quickly. That's not a focus that lends itself to giving prospect rankers a long look at future stars like who are in rookie ball or AAA. But for the Angels, the question of how many top 100 prospects they've collected is irrelevant. It says they're playing a different game. The better question is, how soon can this player help the major league club, and how can they do it?
And with any minor league player, Probinski said, it's less about where he ranks within the industry ranking and more about how he builds off of the last year and the year before. Our focus is helping him to move forward. He also said that it isn't a stretch to say that the Angels are breaking the industry model for evaluating teams' prospects, yet that was never the goal. For us, it ultimately comes down to, from a player development standpoint, to meeting the player where they're at in the developmental curve. It's certainly different whether they're coming out of high school and college, their overall experience level. When players know we'll be aggressive pushing them through the system, it creates an urgency for the work, and it's been positive for us overall. So, Johnny, question here, will the Angels' first draft pick of 2024 be their next star prospect in the major leagues? And
well,
Probinski says, maybe.
Yeah, right. He shared that he's comfortable with the Angels' recent habit of aggressive promotions being more of a trend than a fluke. Probinski said, for us, we're going to meet the player where they're at as we go through evaluations. We'll determine when they're ready to be promoted as we go. But we've certainly set a precedent that we will be pushing guys as we're ready for it. So the question here, Mike, for us is it better for the players and the fans to get these young guys to the show a lot faster, kind of similar to football and basketball, or is there some wisdom in doing what has traditionally been done in terms of letting a guy get a couple years in the minors before you call them up? What do you say?
The longtime fan in me, because I have a history with watching how they traditionally do it, says, I think these guys need time to develop and you don't want to rush them. But gosh, John, this team would be a completely different team without Silseth, Shaunell, and Neto, right?
Yeah.
They would be a completely different organization without those guys. Ohtani being one of those guys as well. And so I think that if these guys are ready to go, why not bring them up? Why not let them go at it? Why not let them prove themselves, especially with the Angels, who are not necessarily a team that people are expecting that they're going to do anything significant this year.
Yeah.
And I think this is the year to really try that. Now, if this was the Braves or the Dodgers or other teams, then I could say, yeah, you know what? You probably need to wait. You probably need to give them time because honestly, the Dodgers are expected to win the World Series, right? The Braves are expected to win the World Series. And so I really like what the Angels are doing simply because it's worked out for them. If it didn't work out for them, I have a feeling that I would be blown and tossed by the wind because I would say, man, these guys just haven't had a chance to really prove themselves and develop into the player that they could be so that when they get to the majors, they could perform to their potential.
You got to look at the quality of the players as well. Like you have a Zach Neto type who is a baseball dude through and through, and he can come up and perform. But then you have somebody like Joe Adell, very athletic, very strong and everything like that. But we saw what happened when they brought him up too early.
Yeah.
And they did it because there wasn't really real baseball happening during the COVID year for the minor leagues. And so they brought him up to get some experience, but he was in way over his head and still looks that way sometimes at 24 years old. I think this is going to be a great season for him. But they've done well, not just in terms of promoting guys, but getting guys who are ready to be promoted. And I think that's what Probinski's talking about there. They get these quality players who are ready to be promoted and ready to make an impact in the leagues. Now, take somebody like Caden Dana. We don't need him around for a while.
Right.
So if he can benefit from 1 to 2 to 3 years in the minor leagues and continue to be a stud, that's something I'm looking forward to. So I think the Angels have the ability to kind of do the high wire act of, let's bring this guy up, or this guy, he can stay a little while in the minors. Like, let's let him develop a little bit more before we call him up and put some pressure on him. And I think that they've done well in kind of playing both sides of the field in that regard.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels play the Cubs today at 12:05 Pacific time. That's the game that will be on the broadcast. They also have a split squad game against the A's at 12:10, and so you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening to today's show, come on over to YouTube, find today's episode, get in the comments section. It's the best way to get part of the conversation with Mike and I. Mike, what do we have on deck for Thursday's show?
Carlos Estevez always starts spring terribly, at least according to him. Carlos, we see it too. So he admitted it, which is great, but he's not worried about it. And he says, you and I shouldn't be worried about it either. And we'll talk about why tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that conversation. We hope you'll come back and join us. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody. And we'll see you back here on Thursday.
Dodgers are wasting Shohei Ohtani. They lost.
Oh, no, don't. Where's the tungsten memes?